When you look at TNA last year to this year, and I've said this more than a few times, you see a far superior product. When you look at this show, it's not the best show in the world, but I do believe it was damn good. It felt like to me, TNA finally decided, you know what, we need to let our hair down and we need to do something to really get the people interested. And when you look at this product, you get a taste of it. It doesn't mean they let their hair all the way down and they went radical out of control and give us something totally different. But it was more than what we've been getting for months upon months when they've been in the United States. When they went into Europe was a very good product. It's what we've been needing in the United States. And this show, I do believe, is the beginning of them letting their hair down in the country, of this country, and giving us a good product. The Fatal 4-Way with Gail, Kim, Madison Rayne, Angelina Love, and Brooke was not one of the best. Well, let's be honest. They didn't really build this very well. We really had no building for any of these women going into it. Just one interview with Christy Hemme, which I do have something to say about her later in this review, wasn't that great. The only person that sounded really strong was Brooke. And look who won this match. It was Brooke. She was the most strongest person there. But you know, I'm going to be honest for myself. I look at Brooke Tessmacher and I look at Angelina Love. I see two gorgeous women. One from Canada and one from Texas, baby. A Texan versus a beautiful Canadian woman. Oh my goodness. It's hard for me to choose. If I had one of these women in front of me, both of them are well-built, beautiful women, I would have a problem choosing between them. And I admit, I've always said I love me some Angelina. I do love me the Angelina. But Brooke is damn sexy and very wonderful. And it's so hard not to want Brooke as well. But knowing how she is in real life, when you look at The Amazing Race, when she's under pressure, it makes it more easier for me to go to Angelina Love. I'm just saying, but doesn't mean that in real life she's not a bad woman. But when you look at this, who was the best person to go? It had to be Brooke, because everyone else has been in the main spotlight for so long, I didn't want to see them. Seeing Brooke there made me very happy. And I'm glad she was the one that won. But admittedly, I thought the dollhouse would come out and destroy her. I really did. I really felt that the dollhouse was supposed to come out and destroy her because it just seemed like a perfect setup for it. We got that later in the night. And I'm going to do this right now. The dollhouse with Jade and Marti Belle. If I'm pronouncing her name wrong, I'm sorry. When you look at these two women, when they first came out with the music, it just seems off. At first, the music just seemed off. And the characters just seem off. When you really look at it, these two are supporting actresses. They're the ones that are supposed to act like that with someone in the center. And I didn't understand what that meant at first. Really, I'm being honest here. When you look at this, you really have this weird feeling that they needed an extra person in the dollhouse. Because they looked like they needed someone to act crazy with. And when you looked at Cherry Bomb, I really felt that when you see Cherry Bomb, you felt like she should be the one that's being spotlighted and be in TNA instead of these two acting the way they were. But in the end, Cherry Bomb won by DQ because Jay got so damn pissed off. Her partner, Marty, basically fucked over the ref and basically pissed off the ref, and she slammed the ref into a turn post. It actually was different. We haven't seen that from women often. Well, actually, we haven't seen that at all in WWE. And I don't remember the last time they did that in TNA. The only thing they done close was Madison Rayne dealing with Earl Hebner. Sorry. Ow. Leg hurt. That's the last time we saw any interaction between the refs and the women. And then knocking out Christy Hemme and putting a jawbreaker in her mouth. I'm just hoping they be very careful, because if you're not careful with these damn jawbreakers, you can swallow them accidentally. But I'm sure they're being very careful with them. But seeing this perked my interest up on these women. I said, this looks like something, but something's missing. I didn't know what it was. Now, when you look at the Rising, and I gotta admit, the image they use for the Rising with guys with no faces and hoods, I really believe that's the best picture for them. The video packages look great, but Micah just feels weak. I'm sorry. Maybe it's because he just doesn't have a very strong personality. He's more of a strong silent type. That's what I believe. But when you look at Eli Drake and you look at Drew Galloway, they can talk. They just have the polish. They have the voices. They have the strength. You can feel with Drew, he's the most strongest character there. He just excretes leader. You see Eric Drake. He's the quirky guy that is like the dark horse of the group, who you think could lose his mind and just go off on his own. But when you look at Micah, he seems like the underdeveloped one that has to grow into his character, one that has to build up into it. Kind of like a Randall Keith Orton in Evolution. He just doesn't feel like he's there. He has potential, but he just isn't there. And when he went up against Kenny King, baby, you gotta say the King like that. Well, you should have said it like that, because at one point he had potential and he himself has dropped to the wayside because he acted like a fucking little kid. The match was good. Micah won. The beatdown happened. The beatdown clan won. But I feel like the beatdown clan needs an extra partner in there. Now, either they're going to bring someone in, or they're going to leave it as it is. And since the beatdown clan with Homicide continually beating their ass down with one of the folding sticks they use, folding baton, I'm telling you, these guys are not going to get over. And that's a waste, because you bring these guys in, you give them a good video packages, you give them a good picture for their group, but they're not getting anywhere. That either Homicide's got to leave or they got to bring another person in. I'm just saying. Now here's a person that could be brought in the Rising, and that's Davey Richards. I don't know about you guys, but when I look at Davey Richards, yes, he's an X Division guy. Yes, he looks good when he wrestles, but he just seems empty. Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards really worked so well together, even though they didn't have a lot of time to build the character. When you see Davey Richards, unless they give him more time to talk, he just feels very empty. He just does, to me personally, just feels empty. He does great work in the ring. He did a good job with Manic. But I'm being honest here, I just feel like he's empty without a character. He needs some character development. Please, TNA. Now, the thing I loved that I believe is a sleeper hit for TNA in 2015. Manic. No, not Manic, I'm sorry. Magnus. Sorry, I said Manic. They kind of use the same name. And I'm currently under medication. Magnus with Mickie Jane. I knew when I saw Storm dealing with Mickie Jane, there had to be something going on. There had to be something quirky going on. And when you see the Mickie Jane, oh my goodness, you guys tell me, does her breasts look bigger than they used to be? They say, and I'm not being sexist and very nasty and sexual, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just being honest. And me being married to somebody, I do know this had happened. With my own wife, I was married at one time. When a woman is not a very heavy-chested woman, after having a child, their tendency is to grow bigger breasts, and even after they're no longer breastfeeding, their breasts can stay the same. Some, not all women are like that. Some women are there, and some women are like that. And Mickie Jane looks like one of those women that she was a much more smaller chested woman, which she was fine. She was beautiful. But now that she has a baby, she's more heavy chested. I do believe she's still breastfeeding because her breasts are still very big. I think they would be a little smaller if she was no longer breastfeeding. But let's be honest here. She looks like she's chesty, baby. And seeing that she's talking about leaving, I felt a little weird about it. Hearing that she was going to retire. I didn't believe that she's retiring. I didn't believe that she was retiring right now. And I was right. seeing Storm come out and trying to convince her to have one more match, manipulating her. I knew, and I believe you could check my former videos, that there was some type of screwiness that Storm was going to pull to mess over Magnus to have a feud. And here it is. This is what I believe. Storm is going to manipulate the situation to make Magnus look like the bad guy, and Storm be the angel of the situation, where Mickie Jane will ally herself briefly with Storm while Magnus is pulling his damn hair out, what hair he has, because he looks like he's balding, to go crazy to protect his woman. Now, when you saw after that situation, when he went to one of the cameramen and said, please check and see what's going on with her. Could you follow her because of what's going on? They said, sure, we'll do it. Of course, they're getting paid. But now Mickie Jane is going to see that, and she's going to think that Magnus is betraying her. This is a story, a sleeper hit that we couldn't even get in WWE, that now we're getting in TNA. I am very interested in seeing how far this is going to go. There's a good chance that Mickie Jane will wrestle, even if it's only once. There's a good chance that Magnus is going to be having a fight beyond fuck to try to convince his woman that Storm is trying to fuck her over. And there's going to be a fight between Storm and Magnus that we're going to love, for the simple reason that Magnus is a father. He is a family man that's fighting for his family. And this is how a man who should have been much higher on the card a long time ago, and who should be very loved by the people now, is going to have. Had to say it. I pledge allegiance to EC3, and he and Tyrus will be the next president of TNA. I would have said the United States, but everybody's going to say that. Come on. This was good. I did enjoy this. Seeing that he's trying to convince people like Mr. Bob Backlund did back in the 90s to try and become president of the United States through the WWE, we get EC3, the American hardcore icon. He is now trying to do the same thing. If this was anybody else, I wouldn't think he would be able to pull it off. But EC3 is doing such a good job the way he was. When he's spotlighted properly, he's going to pull this off. And I enjoyed it, especially when Anderson came out. Anderson coming out, it wasn't the part in the very beginning that got me. It was the part afterward when he was being very honest. He said, look, it takes a lot more than just trying to politics with some fucking BS. It takes blood, sweat, and tears. It took me a fucking decade to get my first championship. And the crowd, and I have to say that this crowd in Florida was very, very good, which truly helped the product. I'm telling you right now, the product was helped very well by them, and Anderson was over. EC3 was booed beyond fuck, and that is how it should be run. When it came to Josh Matthews, and I didn't say this in the very beginning, I'm saying it now. Josh, I know that Taz probably will be back soon, but with him there, the show was so good. Yes, he botched once or twice. Every commentator does it. But I am so more happy with Josh all by himself than I would be with him with Taz. I still believe Jeremy Borash, JB, should be with Josh Matthews. But we get what we got. And also seeing the final match of the night. Seeing how the beginning of the show with Angle and Eli, and then we got the Austin Aries saying, I'm sorry Eli, get the fuck out of my way. I'm catching in my feast and fire. I want him now. It wasn't any different than what we had. But I gotta say this, I was not fond of seeing Eli turn to a face. I don't want to see him turn face. I don't want to go back to turning face. The ratings tanked when he was a face. But as a heel, he is getting traction. He may not be the most greatest heel in the business or in TNA right now, but I will say that he's easily a very good heel. Easily, he's doing a pretty good job. At the end of the show, he beats up on Aries. He pile drives him twice. He beats up on Angle. He pile well, he almost pile drived him. He more than I think he should have pile drived him and then put him into the figure 4. But seeing the blood did compensate. And that's something we don't usually get in WWE. We don't get blood, very rarely. And they're always worried about getting basically fined for it. But here it's different. And seeing the blood from his head and the figure 4 put on his knee, it was a good thing. And I am interested in seeing what happens next week. What will Eli be doing next? I do want to make it clear that Eli is still not a great, strong, credible champion. Even if he was a heel, I do not want him near the championship title. But dealing with the champions, I am very happy to see. Finally, the final match I'm going to talk about, and it's the most important one. Kong versus Terrell for the Knockouts Championship. When I heard her say, I want this as a DQ match, I thought, uh-oh, she's cheating. She's going to cheat. That was the first thought that went in my head. I didn't think, wait a minute, why is she doing that? She's a face. She should not cheat. But I felt after everything she went through, getting pile drived, getting her ass kicked twice, and I know a couple of people on different shows saying, she must win. She must win, but I'm thinking she's better off winning after Kong wins. This is the reason I said this. Right now as a face, before she turned heel, I thought when she came up to Kong, before she said DQ, as a face, she needs to lose to Kong so she can actually face everyone on the roster and then rise above everyone and become champion. I know people think she's not a credible threat. I know. But it would have been better for her character. That's at least how I felt. Doing it like this with the dollhouse actually is a much better way for her. Because so many people didn't buy her as a face going against Kong. Having her as a heel with 2 supporting actresses. Like I said, these 2 are 2 little girly girls that need a leader can tell them what to do. And that was the thing I kept feeling during Jade's first match. I felt like these 2 need a leader. It makes no sense. Now seeing them with Terrell actually makes sense. And seeing her change her demeanor so quickly tells me she will pull this off very well. She can pull off a girly girl, nasty girl. A nasty girl, yeah. Was this a good show? A damn good show. Could it need some work? Oh yes, it could need some work. Davey Richards really needs some work. I mean, when you look at it, they really needed some work. When it comes to Brooke, she needs to be spotlighted before they actually have the fucking matches with her. Let her talk. Let her have video segments. Let her have video promos. She needs it. And when it came down to the ending, I believe it was the wisest thing to do to turn her heel. Because if she wasn't turned heel and she was allowed to keep the title, I think it would not benefit her because she has no one to rise above. And this is what a lot of people want to see. They want to see someone who didn't seem like they can do anything and do something they can. So I hope you enjoyed the Zane view. Please give me a comment below. And I'm sorry that I didn't do my Raw review. I am going to watch Extreme Rules and I'll be doing